And we are recording.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
You're late. So, when last we left, you guys had fought some terrible monsters in a cave or in a temple on a continent most of you have never been, and on a continent that most of you have no idea where it is on a planet that you've never been to. There is a map fragmenty thing. There are scans of all my maps from my homebrew world, and I threw a marker on it.
That's not. That's about where I figured we were.
Each square is 24 miles, approximately, which in D&D terms is the distance you can travel in a day. Yeah, so with survival and relative knowledge and things like that, you guys can put together roughly how far you are from some kind of civilization.
All right.
Okay. Well, I certainly suggest we start heading towards Irungon. There's not, from my limited understanding of the continent, there really isn't anything else here that's friendly.
Then we should head there with all possible haste.
I agree.
What's there?
I'll be the first to admit I've never been there personally, but what is known of Irungon is that it is the domain of a copper dragon, the name of Octavian. It's probably fairly normal-ish compared to what we've been dealing with lately.
Dragon?
Yes, dragon.
I thought they were made up.
Is it a friendly dragon?
Is dragon?
Tursta's staring at her like, are you fucking nuts?
There are friendly dragons where I come from.
Octavian is, by all records, hard to predict. But at least metallic dragons in my world tend to be of more friendly, well, at least non-hostile attitude.
That counts as friendly.
No.
Not hostile is
not the
good.
same as friendly, but it is a more positive alignment.
Eat you politely instead of eat you mean.
There's that, I suppose.
Still, it is a better choice than wandering the snow.
Actually, this is a tropic area. The snow was clearly from the meddling with my lord's mantle.
Right.
Yeah, the snow is rather rapidly melting around you.
Okay, got it.
However, if you are less than 10 feet from Krenin, it is fairly comfortable in these surroundings. If you are more than 10 feet from Krenin, you realize how hot, muggy, and miserable it is fairly quickly.
I am 10 feet from Krenin at all times.
Yes.
I'm gonna stay close.
I'm from the elemental plane of the jungle.
So this sounds like a number of people who aren't usually that close to me are now staying very close to me.
Tursta's doing what Tursta's doing normally. He's fucking off and running like Outrider style.
I'm from a boreal forest. This is way too hot for me.
Same.
This game really is, let's
Same.
make Oniahaka miserable.
Not as miserable as fucking space, alright?
Every once in a while we're walking, you guys are going to come across a tree and Tursta's like draped over a branch because he ran ahead. Ah!
Alright, so I suppose that we just start heel telling it.
Unless you have a better idea.
I do not.
Well, go ahead and give me perception rolls as you start walking.
Checking something.
Okay, I didn't write an alias for that.
You just do bang, check, whatever.
Ooh!
That's really big.
You said perception?
Yep. That's
I see the
really
ground.
not.
Poor Bolo!
I'm busy sunning myself.
Look, I don't expect to make perception checks on this character. It's when I fail the Arcana and the history checks that I get upset.
It's bang check perception.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no space, because as we can see, I tried that one.
That is the exact same number. Gotten in the exact same way. So as you guys start walking roughly northwest, you're, following this kind of trail, and the 17, so Sarai, off in the distance, you can see some, broken trees and stuff that look fairly recent-ish. And when I say broken trees, I mean full-size trees that have been cleaved in half. The other two, who made ridiculous rolls, not only do you see some broken trees cleaved in half, the trees range from, they are in a rough semicircle. It looks like something traveling very quickly, roughly 40 feet across, not only cleaved through these trees and knocked trees over, but shredded the tops of nearby trees. It's traveling at a 30-degree, either probably upward angle, like it is escaping from something, and it came from somewhere in the jungle to your right, so to your east, and looks like it cleaved through a bunch of trees on that side as well, with a 23 in both being nature type people, and it's a critical success. These trees were broken no more than 6 to 12 months ago.
Something enormous came through here. Truly enormous. These trees were cloven by its escape.
Launch. Something fly. Dragon?
That seems likely.
And what's more, and I step forward and I just kind of run a hand over one of the trees. I
Half year.
mush stuff between my fingers.
Half year. Year?
6 to 12 months, yes. That is what I was thinking.
Not long enough for moss. Not long enough for decompose.
The wood is still slightly wet.
Krenin observes the two, nature specialists who are apparently talking in some sort of strange code to him.
I actually agree with them.
I'm not disagreeing.
By now.
It seems that Krenin's thoughts of the dragon are likely true.
But would the copper dragon be the one doing this, or was it chasing the thing that did this?
Alright, once again, I'd like to point out that we really don't know much about Octavian, just that he rules Hirangon. This is not Hirangon. Hirangon is still further north.
Alpha, is there any tracks? On the ground?
There are no actual footprints, at least not in your immediate area.
I cannot imagine anything similarly enormous, though.
You'd be surprised. I'd like to make an investigate roll to see if I can somehow, I doubt it, don't know to try, if I can ascertain anything further about the nature of what
Yeah.
plow through these trees.
I'd like to go looking for tracks.
I'd like to make a survival check to look for tracks and stuff.
At the mention of me being surprised,
It's investigation, Bolo.
Yeah, I figure that.
I get like a small grin on my face, and I say, "Such a creature deserves to be ridden."
Are you insane?
So Ulf Turstar has no grasp of the concept, but this is the quickest way to summarize it. All the rest of them are looking at trees and crap. He's on Overwatch.
Yeah, I assumed. You can go ahead and bang a perception roll for me.
It is not insanity to take on challenge.
Are you guys rolling survival rolls for tracks?
Nope. Even with expertise?
As you guys like pick your way farther back into the jungle, like along the path, you don't find tracks. And how long are you taking? How far are you going following this cloven tree path?
Is it going in the similar direction to where we want it?
No.
Then I will just kind of go in a small area around where we were
You
going.
are still traveling north, but you are traveling north and east. You need to be going north and west.
Look, if this was 6 months ago, whatever did this is long gone.
I agree.
Likely we could get more information from the town if it was this big. Somebody had to notice.
It's not a town. It's a
City?
city, and it's the only city on this continent.
City.
Half an hour and not far.
Like I said, I'd
I mean,
rather
you're-
be inside this wall.
You're talking
at this
about
point.
3 days to the city.
I had heard of settlements beyond my village, but I have not seen another. That is something that Elk Tribe typically do. What size is this
So-
city?
If we are giving up pursuit, I will tell you what you find. Nobody finds any tracks. Sana and Honey, with rolls of greater than a 15, do find that at least a portion of the trees in the middle of the path appear not only to be broken, but to have suffered a hard freeze at some point in the recent past. Like there are the burst like capillaries within the tree and stuff that would signal that information.
Is this some magic, Grennan?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with Discord right now. What did you say?
I asked you if the hard freeze that the trees experience might be some kind of magic.
What about the hard freeze?
Sana and I detected that these trees that were, or these trees on the path that were broken around us, some of them suffered like a hard, sudden freeze.
I'm proceeding on the out of play assumption that you're asking me if basically this had anything to do with my lord. I I do not believe so.
Because, like, as a player, I'm thinking Dragon Breath, but there's no way that I would know that in character. Because this character only knows of dragons in, like, this is a thing that might exist somewhere way beyond where I've ever been.
No, believe me, if the mantle had gone missing before now, I would have heard about it.
So this is potentially unrelated.
and yet still deeply strange.
Aye.
But still, Krenin, this city, what size of settlement do we speak of? Like, is it 2 villages seamed together?
A kind of glazed expression crosses Krenin's face just now. Once again, I've never been there, but there are plenty of cities on this world that are far bigger than Apparent Villages.
Roll a flat intelligence roll for me, Bolo.
Yay!
Or perhaps the port, Alls, was that a city of which you speak?
You broke him.
No, that was me laughing out of play. I'm sorry. It's Honey, I want you to think about this. It is 64 miles across at its widest point. It's about roughly 56 miles in diameter.
You lie.
No.
Yes.
You never
No.
fail to amuse me, dwarf.
It's not funny.
That's a fairly impressive city.
Kind of tiny.
What?
Uh,
Why
I mean,
make
it's not
cities
Grum
so
Wadan,
not
but I mean,
walk
it's certain.
across in one day. How get from place to place?
We'll have to talk about public transportation another day.
I don't remember what they call them.
Trust me, Krenin. Your jape with the lizard, it has made me smile, but you can stop now.
Oh dear.
There's a look of subtle horror in Krenin's face. Okay, Honey. Well, as you say.
No town, no village can be bigger than a forest, surely.
Okay.
Only a hawker. I don't think they're joking.
No, they definitely aren't joking.
When did I become more than one person?
We're talking about you and Tersa.
Yeah.
I know.
No joke.
It must be a joke.
Well,
not joking. Couldn't not joke. Oh. And we must go? Why? Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
There is nothing friendly outside the walls of Hirangon on this continent.
Sana, I promise you, if this ridiculous
Careful
structure
now.
exists, then I will carry you from end to end.
And like that,
Okay.
the lizard is a new life goal.
What did you promise? Discord cut on me.
I promise that if this ridiculous huge structure that's apparent, or this ridiculous huge place that's bigger than a forest exists, I will carry her from side to side.
Keep your arms in trim. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Perhaps we can buy horses there.
Among other things.
So, are we resuming travel, or?
I would
I
say
would-
yes at this
Yeah, I
point.
think so.
Very much like
Yeah.
Okay, you guys continue your traveling. your initial, if this is bigger than a forest comment, Honey, seems stupider and stupider as you continue traveling and realize how much jungle you're walking through. You see actual running water for the first time in, months. That's cool.
Oh, that's really exciting.
And you do make camp twice along the way, and you hear the normal noises of animals and things of that nature, as well as things that are probably bigger than animals that you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, on the third day, I'd like everybody to roll perception for me as you start to see the smoke of a large settlement in the distance.
And make sure you're rolling in the right channel.
Damn, we have been tearing these perception checks up today.
Tursta has detected bacon.
These are a little nuts, I'm not going to lie. And there's our big winner.
I'm sorry, Bolo.
I've detected my feet.
Also, just a note about when we make camp. Whenever we sleep outside, I only sleep with something that visually obscures me from the night sky, if there are stars out. And when there are stars out, I am notably more stern and closed off to all of you. Like, I only give, one-word answers.
So, riding down the trail that you've been traveling, considerably faster than a horse, is some kind of large-sized bipedal lizards in a rough pack or herd. Those of you with a less than 20 have the initial realization of this large... Well, you don't see shit. You noticed your feet. The rest of you detect this, hear this, see it. Those of you with a 20 or more, you realize it is about a dozen individuals mounted on large-sized bipedal lizard-type creatures. Tursta, having been many places and seen many things, it is a force of, like I said, about a dozen guys dressed in, turn of the 19th century style cavalry uniforms.
Oh, God.
Cool.
Riding large raptors, and they are led by a furry bastard carrying a lance.
Have I seen these uniforms before?
They are familiar in the way they are cut and the style they are cut. Like, they are European-style cavalry uniforms from about the turn of the 19th to the 20th.
Okay, so recognize the cut, but I don't actually...
Yeah, it's not like, I know who these guys are.
Okay.
Does anybody tell me that this is coming?
They look like Victoriana, but they're not. And they're coming this way.
There's
Yeah.
riders.
Squint.
Men.
Men?
Led by a mammal.
Actually men?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Here's an important question. How big are their hats?
Of middling, the everyone but the guy in the lead, Haxley, is wearing normal-sized hats. The guy in the lead is wearing what would be a fairly ostentatious hat.
I'm gonna take a moment and solve the visual problem. Just use minor illusion to create an image of what I see, so that Krenin can see it.
Krenin, you have never met one.
But I've heard.
There is a furry individual dressed in a vaguely, 19th century cavalry uniform. He has a thick, greenish brown furry face, and he is wearing a cavalier style, cowboy hat with the one side pinned up, and a
Yep.
plume of feathers in truly outrageous colors.
I love him already.
And does his face sport a manic, in search
Not
of violence grin?
especially.
I probably wouldn't, because I wouldn't have that kind of accuracy. It would just be the
Fair.
overall image of what I see.
Actually, here's a vital question, Ulf. Is the lance like
It is held at like parade, like it is
okay?
upright.
Yeah. They're not expecting to kill us.
I wonder how much effort it must take to tame one of those to be rideable.
Well, I can tell you they're definitely from here and gone. The creature in the lead, I believe, having never actually met one but heard stories, that should be a Jaegerkin.
A what?
Jaegerkin?
That's not a word.
It's a word.
That is not word that gives answer.
It's a stupid word.
You know what? I think I'll let this particular mystery explain itself when they reach us.
Krenin, is it the additional time that we're spending together now? Because you seem to really be laying the jokes on thick. I'm so sorry, Bolo.
That was in character.
So as the large raptor type animals approach, they kind of fan out and encircle you guys in a rough semicircle. You realize that this company of riders is made up of humans. Several of these, what Krenin has identified as Jaegerkin, and 3 or 4 gnomes wearing what looks like some kind of, for lack of a better word, false legs so they can steer this raptor type creature properly.
Beautiful.
Cool.
And as they circle around, they're all dressed similarly. It's very Dragoon-esque, they're wearing a breastplate over top of this uniform. They are clean, they are presentable, they are all the things you have not become used to given your recent lifestyle. And they're all, buttoned up, collars that go clear up to the top of their neck and, immaculate, except for said Jaegerkin leader, and his is end buttoned almost to the middle of his chest, and it's wide open. And he's carrying this big lance, and he turns the thing sideways, and he looks down off the mountain and goes, "I knows thinks you guys from rounds here's. Da?"
You are correct.
I will let Krenin talk and not
Yeah,
make any
that-
threatening motions.
Turstad's squaring off with the mounts, though.
Right up in front of them, Turstad, go ahead and roll. Nature is still a skill, isn't it? Survival would work too.
Let me check. I've got something wacky because
Nature is still a skill.
Yeah, but I've got something weird because I'm a ranger.
So the Jaegerkin leader hands his reins to a subordinate, and he slides off the mount, and you see that the the lance that you thought he was holding is sitting in a cup on the front of the mount. And he slides down off the side, and he walks up to Krenin, and he leans down, because he's not Honey tall, but he is taller than what you would understand to be the average. And he leans down, and he puts his nose on top of Krenin's head and just goes...
I get this affronted expression on my face and step forward a step.
And he leans back and he runs his hand through the fur on his face. And when I say through the fur on his face, I don't mean how you or I would stroke a beard. He literally takes his hand and from bottom to top runs his hand through all the hair on his face. You's not spins rounds here's long times.
And Ulf, my
Yeah.
thing is just I spend basically I interact with the critter. Yeah, I just understand it basically.
Okay, it is not a like it looks like a dinosaur or something of that nature. And it definitely is a reptile, but it is not. It is natural in that it occurred. It is more like a mule, like it's part dragon, part lizard. And it was bred for only this purpose. They are smarter than like a horse, but not by a whole lot. And now that you're up in front of them and like you're looking at their forearms and stuff like that, you can see where like there are the vestiges of these might have been able to fly, but it's been bred out.
Okay.
So this guy looks Krenin up and down, and then kind of looks Honey up and down, who's a little more like his speed, what he's used to seeing. And then kind of cocks his head to the side a little bit, looking at Sarai, because that's a little more foreign. And then Sana, who's a lot more foreign. And then the lizard man, who oddly he seems more comfortable with, but they're decidedly more concerned about Turstaw than the rest of you.
Your beasts, you ride them well. How difficult are they to train?
He kind of blinks at Honey. Not hard. No harder than you. And goes back, and he kind of points at Turstaw. Dwarf. You vouch for
Yes.
Savage?
I vouch for Savage. He's not strictly speaking from this world anyway, but he's certainly not like the ones we encountered.
And Turstar gets this look like, oh, this shit again.
Oh,
Like not annoyed, just like been through this before. All right.
Was worried the corruption had sired a
Well-
new breed. Good.
Sorry, was that all?
He said was worried the corruption had sired a new breed.
Corruption? I mean, well, we found the ziggurat, and clearly there was some sort of cult there. Emphasis on the was.
He climbs up into the saddle and kind of waves dismissively in the rough direction you've come from. That's a Tuesday. Come, we walk you to town.
Okay.
I laugh because I like this guy.
Is there any sort of like obvious ranking on his uniform?
I mean, there's full on like chevrons. Like it looks like a it looks like a turn of the century uniform, and it looks like he's some kind of sergeant.
Okay. I'm afraid you have the advantage of me. How should I address you, sir?
Oh, you can just call me Weebert.
Weebert?
Weebert.
Okay.
Alright. You said I haven't been around here for a long time. From my reckoning, how long have I been in the Aether Sea?
6 months to a year. Not long.
Okay, I have been elsewhere for about a year. So.
Oh, you have the stink of Arcanum.
Well, yes.
And he kind of jerks a thumb over his shoulder towards Sana. It's like, she smells better.
makes a little bit of sense.
So as you guys ride with these guys, they will make small talk, but they don't divulge a whole lot of readily available information. Either because they're trained better than that, or because they don't know anything. Depends on rough rank and things like that. And as you start to see the forest thin, and then finally you kind of cross this border, and there are 500 yards of clear fields and grass growing and farms and stuff like that. And in the distance, there are wooden walls 200 feet tall that seem to have been made from all the logs that are missing in the forest. And there are guys pounding away on top of it, constantly making repairs, swinging big pieces into place. And you see scattered around, like right in front of the walls, dinosaur-sized lizards and stuff that are dead and being butchered and things. Wagons bringing food into the city, bringing manufactured goods out of the city. You see that in the distance there are other little farms and stuff that have sprung up around the walls of Hirangon, and that all of this is servicing the city itself. And the patrol leader, who has identified himself as Wiebert, points towards the door, says, "Go in. First building on your right. Check in."
Understood. I lead my friends to the gate. First building on the right.
And Honey, there's a lot of like grunting and nodding, and you're not even sure he speaks common. And in fact, people can roll. Well, no, you notice when they talk amongst themselves, they're definitely not speaking common. They are speaking some variation of Draconic.
Jesus.
I can speak.
Yeah, I actually have Draconic.
I mean, it's normal like soldier talk, like, you know, checking in if one of them sees something, stuff like that. Here and there are comments about that. One of them straight up thinks Turstaw is a savage. One of them keeps saying that Turstaw doesn't look like the savages. Because as we mentioned, you guys fought lizard men last time. Like lizard men are a constant problem for them.
At one point during one of these conversations that these guys are having, Turstaw is going to look right at one of them. I'm not them. They're stupid and worship a fake god.
One of them just kind of stares at you.
What?
What?
It's like doing the lizard head cock.
Like, he's just staring at you, and then he looks at the other one, he's like, "It can talk."
I'm told I can sing. I was drunk, though.
I try very hard not to sigh as this conversation ensues.
So as you approach the gates of the city, they are open. They are also large wooden gates. As you pass through them, however, you realize that the backside of all these logs, there are just dozens of runes and some kind of spellcraft that's being worked on this wall of wood. And immediately on the right, there is a structure that looks like it started its life off as some kind of pub and has been repurposed as some form of customs house.
How much
I
of the
take it
city?
we check in there.
How much of the city?
Yeah, how much of the city can we see from where we are, or from our ride in?
I mean, there is a massive wall, and it goes out of your vision to one side and to the water on the other side.
By the spirits.
Not joking.
So, time to have the most ridiculous conversation of our lives. The customs house.
Why is that the most ridiculous conversation of our life?
I'll get you phrase that. The most ridiculous conversation of my life. I can't speak for the rest of you.
Definitely not mine.
Rez, Sana, and I are just standing back here totally fucking flabbergasted.
So you walk into this customs house, and there is a counter and all the things you would expect to find in any kind of immigration office. And sitting behind the desk is a Warforged, not dissimilar to Dax. He's got the same stamped number on his cheek. And he is, whereas Dax is like constantly kind of silent and unassuming, this guy straight up has a round mirror and a polishing cloth and seems to be shining his face. And as you come in, he puts things down, and he puts his big hands in front of him with these huge metal mitts. And he goes, "With what can I help you today, weary travelers?"
We were told by my patrol leader, Weebert, to report here.
I feel like I'm saying this a lot today. Bolo, you're getting that "are you fucking kidding me" look from Durstar right now. As in, this is specifically the Warforged shining his face.
Soraya was so amused.
Krennen's face is just just roll with it. Just roll with it.
I'm just looking out the door, out onto the city, and still just boggled.
"From where do you hail?" And at this point, it has opened like a huge tome in front of it, and out of one of its fingers has pulled like an ink pen, like it was sheathed in the finger.
Nice. For myself, I hail from Grum Modan. For the others, that's a bit of an interesting story. But if anybody's ready to hear it, it's probably you.
So it slowly turns its head and looks at the next one of you to speak.
Home.
I'm going to note that as unspecified.
Probably for the best.
That probably works for multiples of us.
Tuck hair.
I never actually named where I was from, like a derp.
So you decided to call this land this land.
This land.
Or Bob.
You can't name a planet Bob.
Why not?
At least name it Mogo.
I hail from Izusa Mountain.
I hail from the steppes, but not on this world.
So you'll require a guide then.
Have one, points at Bolo.
For the purposes of this city, yes.
The Warforged presses a button, and you guys hear a loud ding, and then out from under the desk shoots like a sparkler, for lack of a better word, out into the street and out of your sight.
Yeah, Krennen looks a little confused with this too. Is the Sparkler? What's the Sparkler doing?
You don't know. It dashed out into the road and then out the door and then up the road.
You know how most people react to mice? That's what Sana does to the sparkler.
Aren't you already up on his shoulder?
Sitting. Now she's not. She like clambers up and looks for something higher up to climb on, realizes she can't.
So she's like face hugging his head.
Also, at about this point, you guys hear a loud rumbling noise as a huge metal box trundles by the front door. It's on wheels, and it just kind of goes past you and out into the jungle.
That's how you get around in this city this big.
What is that?
I don't know.
It is madness. That is what it is.
The Warforged still making notes. Oh, that's a Gnomecraft crawler engine.
Can you go to the moon yet?
What?
The Warforged looks very confused.
Yes!
After about 5 minutes, the sparkler comes back through the door and back under the table, and there's another ding. And moments behind that, a female gnome with like that undercut mohawk thing girls are doing right now. But
So my haircut?
It's like 11 different colors. And
Get me!
she's dressed in a similar uniform, but a very different, like, cut. And she walks in and she looks at all of you. Right then. Maggie Gearwhistle, I hear you need a tour.
If it's not too much trouble, yes.
And she waves at the Warforged. I got him, Vic! And walks back out into the street.
I move to follow because I don't want to lose the gnome.
I
and
will
this
also
street's
follow
got
her.
that.
I suppose that I will follow.
Experiences in a new city. The lizard is off.
So as you get out into the street, and there's, the hustle and bustle, there's various kinds of lizard creatures. There's some, like, mammalian beasts of burden, but even those are mostly, like, yak or oxen. There's not a whole lot of horses and stuff around. The only, like, close to horse things are weird lizard creatures. And then there are more than a fair number of these crawler vehicles, which are either wheeled or tracked, and some of them seem weaponized and some of them seem like heavy equipment. And as she leads you out into the street, she points at the street beneath her feet and goes, "So, the city is divided into districts. Those districts have different purposes and by and large are entirely different from each other, due to their nature and the fact that they were plucked from their original reality. This district," and she points around her, "is the Shenyun district, inhabited primarily by the Praetorite Guard of Shenyun." And as you look around, you realize that all of the humans that are in the area have Asiatic features, and that it's a strange blend of... You guys seen the Big Hero 6 anime? Like the animation they did? It's like that. You smash two architectural styles together, and this is what you ended up with. And then she starts to walk down the road towards, like, what you understand to be the center of town. And she just kind of assumes you're following as she walks away.
You really need to imagine a kid at a carnival with the way turnstiles like ricocheting around and looking at everything that's new, and you bet your ass if anyone is selling any kind of food, he's trying it.
And there are buildings where straight up, like, half of the building looks to have been a stereotypical high fantasy, like, inn, and then a weird Asian inn just got slammed into it at high speed, and this is what you were left with. And they've just made it work for God knows how long.
Wow.
This is the greatest thing ever. It's totally different.
I'm trying to keep an eye on Turstar, mostly to keep track of his position as opposed to trying to curtail his activities.
And there are about 1,000 different kinds of food available to you, Turstar. And
Yes.
all of them are being hawked by strange and different people.
Don't care. New food.
I also want to try new food. Although I will be kind of picky because I don't want to eat something that I can't actually ingest.
Food poisoning is part of the experience.
Yeah, you have trouble even discerning what things are. Whereas
If it
Turstar
looks-
is like, I don't know what this is. I bet it'll fit.
Yeah, pretty much. Huh, what's this? Oh god, roll a save versus Vindaloo, you know.
Luckily, everybody seems to have similar digestive systems to you. So you have put things in your mouth that were not enjoyable, but they were not poison.
Excellent.
The other thing is you are walking through this city and this gnome is prattling on about the Shen Yun, where they came from, how they got here, which you are kind of half following. You'll realize that not only are there weird crawler vehicles, not only are there various kinds of lizard, there are like drakes, full-on winged part dragons flying overhead. And in the distance, out to the west over the water, in addition to there being a dockyard with boats floating in it, there are some kind of airships floating above.
Onihaka.
Yes.
Turstar's pointing excitedly at the boats and all of that.
This is the first thing where I'm not immediately just like confused and a little apprehensive when I see it. When I see boats, I'm like, oh.
So as this gnome is leading you along, you come to a literal, like 10-foot high wrought iron fence that is splitting a street in half. And she points at the fence and goes, "On the other side of the fence is the Jaeger home, where the Jaegerkin live. Don't go there. Or do. But be careful." And then she takes off, like walking parallel to the fence.
Sticking close to the gnome.
Yes, also going to follow the gnome. I don't want to get lost.
Oh, I need to make is Turstar an idiot check.
It's up to you, bro.
Yeah.
Nope, apparently not.
Okay. I am not balancing on the top of the fence as we walk down the street.
As you walk by, like, there are literal, like, more of these Jaegerkin, who you now realize that the kind of green-gray one you saw was a normal color tone, as there are ones who are, like, bluish or almost like a dark crimson red, and they're up against the fence like, "Come on in! The water's fine!"
We no hurt you.
And
What?
there are even more, like, ridiculous smells coming out of Jaegerholm.
Are they being like aggressive or are they just taunting?
It is like borderline fresh meat in the prison.
Okay. As they're doing that, I'm going to set Sana down and I'm going to like walk the furthest on the border, like a boyfriend shifting his girlfriend to the non-street side of the sidewalk, and I'm just gonna walk directly next to this fence and growl at these guys.
They growl right back.
Turstar will join him because he likes Onihaka.
Sana's gonna put some distance between this little testosterone display
I don't have testosterone. I'm a reptile.
and
Little
herself.
smile and wave.
And you eventually, like, as you are growling at Jaegers walking along this fence, there's eventually a Jaeger Honey that makes you look like Sana.
Oh my.
Like, he is just a hulking brute. And he straight up, like, is up against the fence, and he's like, "Oh, oh, come on, come on, oh."
I step back, like, in apprehension for a moment, then remember myself, bare my teeth, and step back forward.
And he keeps making, like, weird gorilla noises and, like, rattling the bars.
Damn it!
I do my best impression of a wolf growl.
And
Let me know if the guy actually snaps at Honey.
no, it seems
Like,
to be
tries
like...
to fight him.
It seems to be, like, full-on, like, taunting, like it's part of the game. And the gnome turns, which is Maggie Gearwhistle, and she... Look, if you're going to stand here and compare dick sizes with the Jaegers all day, we're not going to get anywhere. And she turns and starts walking again in the rough direction of the middle of town, which is now like the fence kind of curves off to the left and you're curving off to the right.
I was this close to biting the shit out of that guy.
As everyone starts to walk away, I'm going to linger behind for a brief moment. And I would like to rage
Oh, God, no.
and roar at this guy as loud as I possibly can.
Are you rolling Intimidate? Are you just doing it to do it?
I'm going to roll Intimidate, sure. Oh. Fucking hell.
Wah, wah.
I forgot that it's a charisma check, not a strength one.
Whoops.
You get like advantage or something if you're raging, or
I don't think so.
Yeah, not rules as written, but that would be up to Ulf.
I just have this picture, mental sound of Honey making like kitten mewing
So
noises.
the Jaeger, like, it's wearing the same kind of ridiculous opulent dress uniform as its kin. And it curls its fingers into the buttons, then kind of turns its head, looks at you, thinks better of it, and it straight up flexes and tears the coat open and goes, "Rah!" And all the other ones start cheering him on.
And I, not wanting to back down, but realizing that my friends are getting very far away from me at this point, turn away and start walking after them.
And there is like the smaller Jaegers are like, yeah, you better walk away. You aren't ready for what Brosophus has.
Jesus, really?
It's a giant furry monster that is the head furry monster. What else was I going to call him?
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Just crossed over with Cactus Industries campaign. That's amazing.
When I catch back up with everyone, I just like look really irritated. Before we leave, I would like to punch him.
Okay.
So as you cross the next boundary and you've left the Shenyun district, you see another one of these ziggurat kind of step pyramids in the distance, and you're in like the rough center of town. And arrayed around it is this huge open area. And there's a fair area that's like gardens and stuff that's kind of fenced off in the middle. And there are Dragonborn stationed as guards all the way around it. And they are dressed much more like classic high fantasy, right? They're in plate mail, they have swords and shields, they're normal looking high fantasy characters. And they're all standing around, doing their thing, but every single one of them is copper. Not a single one of them is not a copper Dragonborn.
What color
But
was
then,
Rick?
outside of the immediate surrounding, this perfect square with these gardens, with this massive ziggurat in the middle, there are tents and stalls and like ramshackle buildings, and there are just smells, Tursta. 100 kinds of meat being cooked 1,000 ways. There is food, there are goods for trade, There is everything you could possibly think about trying to buy, someone has. It's just, do you have the gold? And Maggie points and goes, "Welcome to the Bazaar Bazaar." She points back towards, like, the west. And she goes, "That way is the docks, for when you decide to leave and go back to, well, more normal places. That way is the Gnome Works, where I live, where we'll make things that dazzle the mind and the senses. And that way is, well, a more slummish quarter. Do as you like. I hope I don't see you again." And she walks off towards the Gnome Works.
I like
All
this
right.
place.
First things first. Turstar, Honiohaka,
Yes.
please, do not pick fights with the Jaegers. I don't care what they did, it's what they do. There are far more of them than there are of us. Not to mention they are all part of the standing army that protects this place.
You are once again getting the "what the fuck are you on about" look from the lizard.
And as you guys are having this discussion, there is a literal, like, newspaper vendor, right? Like, it's a kid in a floppy hat with a stack of papers,
I buy one.
and he's calling out, "Feldurnia's rampage into second year! Corruption spreads across known world!"
I buy a
What is
newspaper.
corruption?
And it's set up like a one sheet, right? It's, the big...
Yeah.
And there is a picture of a what looks like a silver dragon from your limited knowledge, with two heads, and its scales are covered in, like, mottled black, like ichor. And this is clearly, somebody has drawn this thing. And it's a picture of it firing both breath weapons that silvers fire at the same time on a city, and it's talking about that this corrupted dragon is spreading this plague across the more savage species, and all these problems happening in all these different places, some of which you've been, some of which you haven't. There are references to a worsening blight in southern Nicadia. There are references to increased problems with the undead in the wastelands and things like that.
The more Krenin reads, the unhappier his expression becomes.
Meanwhile, Turstar, like, across the street from the newspaper kid,
Yes.
someone is cooking what you are sure are rats, but they smell like candy.
Well, I'm eating rat.
It would be worth trying. I'll follow the lizard.
Anyone trying the rat candy, quote unquote, go ahead and roll a Constitution save for me.
Oh dear.
So meanwhile, the one best suited to this is reading a newspaper.
I'll follow along. I haven't tried any
So-
food here yet, and I need something to calm me down from wanting to punch a fur man in the face.
He is not a fur man. He is a Jaegerkin,
Which is better.
which is better. So, Honey, you stick this rat in your mouth, and you're like, oh, why would someone eat this? Because it is literally, like, when people take a candy apple, they dip an apple in terrible red covering?
Yeah.
It's a rat in terrible red covering. And you stick it in your mouth, and you're like, oh my god, why would someone eat this? And Sarai, you stick... Well, let's do it in this order. Turstar, you stick the candy-coated rat in your mouth, and you have the immediate realization of, this is not the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth, but it's close. Sarai, in attempting to keep up with the guys, you stick the rat in your mouth and immediately void your stomach of whatever else you have put in it,
Lovely.
as you stuck candy-coated, partially cooked rat in your mouth.
And Turstos slurps up the tail like it's a piece of spaghetti.
And as he does so, there's like a crunchy noise as he breaks the skull, which is the only piece of a rat that's semi-solid.
Burn.
Ugh.
Delicious.
Oh,
I look up
hold
from the
mine out to
newspaper.
Tursta.
Kremen,
Yes.
Sanasi?
Sure. It's what's it written in, Ulf?
It is draconic.
That's what I figured. But I read Draconic, so I didn't even think twice about it. I let her see. I'm not sure if you can read Draconic, but you can certainly see the illustration if you can't.
Sana would be more interested in the picture. You said it's actually drawn to show its breath weapon in use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both
Can
of them.
identify one of those as being the frost.
Yes, you can.
Oh. The
Oh.
trees. Look, it's ice.
Yeah.
The trees.
Yep.
The other thing, Sana, you've been here for, like, in the immediate area of where you are for, like, 5 minutes. As they're eating candy-coated rats, and he's reading a paper. And a bird, some kind of little, like, songbird, lands on your shoulder. And starts, like, you're used to animals attempting to communicate with you.
Uh-huh.
You are not used to animals attempting to talk to you in a language you don't understand.
Okay.
As a bird lands on your shoulder and starts chittering at you in the tiny animal version of Draconic.
I will express in my racial that I don't understand it.
It seems mildly annoyed at this and continues to
cast-
chitter while flapping its wings.
I will cast Speak with Animals.
Ulf.
Yeah.
I'd like to roll a history check on Feldernia.
Okay. It is chittering the same thing over and over again. It's asking if you've come to stop the darkness. You have no idea, Krenin.
I will dispose of my rat and go look at the
Who is
paper.
asking?
The little bird flaps its wings, and it looks frustrated, or as frustrated as a bird can look. And then you hear like a chittering noise, as like there's a whole flock of these things. And it's like a boom. They all say the same thing at the same time we are asking.
I'm pretty sure I'd noticed a large flock of birds, even if I didn't understand what they were saying.
Well, you do understand what they're saying, actually.
Because they're talking in Draconic.
Yes.
Turstos
Because-
now interested in the birds after that one.
Yeah, all of these birds are chittering about have you come to stop the darkness. And also at this point, everybody can roll perception. Once again, let's see if Bolo can be the only one to fail at it.
No!
So the answer to my question is no. However, Bolo, if we were in person, I would have made you switch dice by now.
Dude, I'd have switched dice so many times by now. Like, Average just fucking hates me.
I'm too distracted with the nastiness that is this rat, and I can't get it out of my mouth.
Like I said before, the perception check, failing that doesn't bother me. Failing the history check on a 2, that bothers me.
So as these as all of these birds are like swarming around you, chittering, you don't really notice. The sound is drowning it out. But 3 of these copper dragonborn in these suits of like chased blue plate have approached you, and one of them steps forward, clearly like in primacy, and speaks in common, which is, you're realizing, is a very uncommon thing in Hirangon. We require that you come with us at this time.
Why?
And he looks really annoyed that he has to say this. Like, he has that face of doing something when you don't really want to. Because the birds have chosen.
Oh,
Looks at the birds, looks at him, looks at the birds, looks back at him, shrugs. Okay.
They must
oh,
be special.
I didn't get much of your description. I'm assuming these guys are basically look like the guy is guarding that ziggurat.
Yes. In fact, you're pretty
Okay.
sure they broke off from the ziggurat.
I think I know where we're going, but we will follow.
Is the bird on my shoulder still on my shoulder?
No, they have flown off in a big cloud.
Okay.
They lead you into the gardens around the ziggurat and to one of their number, so another dragonborn. And as you take him in, he is older. He's kind of stooped by age, whereas the rest of them, like, they're fully copper. He's he's patinaing in his age.
Gotcha.
They're going green
Pretty.
around the edges. He has the like ridges and frills that makes him look considerably closer to like a actual copper dragon than the others, who have a much more humanish look. Right, this one looks a lot more savage. He's walking with a cane that's this gnarled piece of wood, and he turns towards you and looks you up and down. I had not believed that our saviors would come in the form of a human, of all things. And he literally, like, he looks at Tursta and smiles and holds out a hand, not soothingly, but almost understandingly. I wish not to cause you dishonor, cousin, but... And he kind of holds a hand towards Honi. A human.
What is so strange about me?
He limps towards you a little. He's wearing a big, like, voluminous robe, and it hides his legs, but there's a definitive limp. And he looks at you and goes, "You live but decades. You've seen little, and will often see less. But to you the duty falls. For through the Father the birds have spoke."
The wisdom of 10,000 years of ancestors guides me. I will be fine.
So, and he kind of taps his cane off the ground. What do my new world travelers know of this world's peril?
Nothing?
I hold up the paper and point to the picture.
That apparently this particular one apparently has arisen while I was elsewhere. But it does seem a rather grave threat.
Turstar shrugs.
Where it was half year ago.
He draws a circle on the ground with his cane. He carves a rune into the circle and taps it twice, and like a literal map shows up. So, we stand here, in Hirangon, realm of Octavian. Many millennia ago, after the first great war of the gods, the All-Father called upon my father and asked him to imprison a great foe. A creature from beyond the realms who sought to corrupt ours. And so, Father sealed him away in a fragment of reality, a tiny sliver, and sundered his essence across many. And we thought we were safe. Until a hero, not unlike yourselves, carried the creature's essence to a place it was never to return, setting it free. Until, still, we were safe. Until once again, an erstwhile hero, in failing a quest, released the creature to wreak the destruction we now see. And thus, destiny provides us with more heroes, who will hopefully be more apt to complete the goal.
Heroes seem stupid.
Most are, little friend. I seek to send you to the mainland, to hunt word of the creature, to hunt sign of the creature, and if possible, to hunt the creature. In recompense, my lord will see to it that you are handsomely rewarded, should you find and provide information leading to the death of the creature, or yourselves kill the creature. Do we have a understanding?
It seems a great and dangerous creature.
It is a very dangerous creature, made more dangerous by what the creature knows.
I am agreed.
You said he created a map?
Yeah,
How big a map is he standing on?
it's like a topographical map of the area that you're in, and shows both the rather large hole that the creature came out of, and the path that the creature cleaved through the jungle.
Okay.
To where on the mainland are you sending us?
The best place to start for such things.
Which would be...
To the academy, to the roost.
Oh, okay.
This hole. Someone check, yes? Already?
It was checked immediately after the event, yes. And has been kept under observation since.
What was found?
The remains of a rather sizable incantation.
Mad
Rather
Mag-
sizable what?
Incantation.
Gotcha.
Sana in. Sana do.
I will help.
Kirstar shrugs.
We'll do what we can. How we can. Where we can. But I agree. Sending us to the academy is the best choice, first off. Will we be going by airship?
'Tis the fastest way that is readily available.
Understood.
We will give you a day. Procure what you require in town. Take your time. And then, we will see you aboard a ship and across the sea.
Ken has what found at this read? Copies? Some, maybe?
I'm sorry, little one, I didn't follow.
People checked, people found things. Wrote down, yes?
Yes,
Can see?
I can
And
provide
has-
you with the records, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions?
The
Hold
birds.
up.
Yes.
You said the. I originally assumed that it was Octavian speaking through them, but I was mistaken. You said the All-Father?
No, my father.
Okay, so. Okay. So I was correct. It is.
Birds within a mile of Copper Dragon's roost are enabled to speak.
Understood.
Hold up the paper, point to the picture. How right is picture?
We're not sure. Those who have sighted the creature have not returned.
How are we to contact you when we find evidence of the creature?
A method will be provided upon your arrival on the mainland.
Alright. That settles my questions.
You said we will have a day to shop?
A day.
Different meats.
Can go now?
He motions that you can go about your business. Hopefully I will see you again. And he turns and limps off towards the ziggurat.
Tursta.
Eh.
Tursta.
What?
Must find boy with papers.
Why do we need to find the newspaper boy?
Newspaper boy got newspapers from whoever made newspaper. Newspaper maker know who drew picture.
Oh,
That's true.
Find paper boy.
where
Tursta.
do we start?
Challenge.
The newspaper boy is exactly where you left him.
Oh, good. He hasn't left.
Now he's still selling newspapers.
Oh, if I'd
I'm
like
the best tracker.
I'd like to make an investigate check to see if I can figure out the actual like printing office for this newspaper?
It literally says that the Here and Gone Daily Journal is produced in the Gnome Works.
To the Gnome Works! We.
I'm still gonna ask the paper boy where he got it from.
He'll tell you the same
Because-
thing, that he picks it up in the Gnome Works every morning.
Where?
And he gives you like
Where-
street directions that you do not understand.
Okay.
And even for
I mean,
like
it's got an
people who are
address on it,
used
right?
to city, yeah, but even for people who are like used to cities, navigating Here and Gone isn't easy.
Nope.
Okay, I'm returned. Sorry about that.
So do the gnome works, I guess.
Well, head that way.
I will follow.
So the Gnome Works is like if Tinkertown in WoW and Victorian London with like its frighteningly narrow streets and buildings literally turning into one building creating a tunnel out of a road had a bizarre love child. Like everything is just built on top of everything else and everything is belching smoke.
Is anyone else getting a Sweeney Todd vibe off this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Never seen it.
And most of the doorways are too small for even Krenin.
What about the tunnels, though? Are they also too small?
No, most of those are because buildings have crushed in on each other, but the doors, the actual doors to the houses, are like gnome sized.
Well, they're too small for me. They're certainly too small for basically everybody else but Sana.
Tursta is a dexterous little shit. Eventually, after several hours of like wandering and trying to follow bad street directions, you do come across the offices of the Here and Gone Daily Journal.
Honey is walking through the alleys in this place, like almost sideways, like in a way that somebody really large walks through a antique shop, with like his hands tucked into his belt and his elbows like in, so that he doesn't just like turn too fast and break something.
I will open the door and step inside.
The door to the office is bigger than the other one.
No.
Is what's on the other side of the door bigger?
Also, no.
Am I literally too big to get through the door?
You can squeeze through.
I do so.
I suppose I'm just gonna lean against the wall like an awkward teenager with a Game Boy.
Can't decide if Sarai would try to get through the door or not. She's not that tall.
So as you guys are like debating if you can squeeze through the door, and Sana very readily simply walks through the door. There is a elderly gnome with a pair of little round glasses perched on the end of his nose, looking over like the typeset for tomorrow's edition.
Sana, please tell me what happens.
I will switch to gnomish. Greetings! And kind of wave.
So you are still dressed like a wild child, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this gnome straight up is like in two of the three pieces of his three-piece suit with his suit coat hanging on a hook behind his desk. And he kind of looks you up and down and goes, "Can I help you?"
Yes. I need to know who drew this picture. I hold up the paper and point at it.
Well, our sources are confidential on these things.
It's important. We were told to find out information, and I need to know who drew this picture.
Make a persuade some kind of diplomacy roll.
I mean, no one says no to the gnome.
He pulls out like a literal like wooden Rolodex, and he starts thumbing through cards. He's looking and he's looking, and like he's clearly annoyed to even be looking. I am looking for something. Give me 1 sec.
And he is annoyed to have to be looking for something.
All I know, one of my reporters handled it. He's on assignment on the mainland. All I know is that the sketch came from an individual in Nicadia. All I have here is a name. One name. Not enough to go on. All I have is the name Klaus.
Is that the reporter's name or the source's name?
The source.
Can I get the reporter's name?
Derek Jasper knows.
And you said he's on the mainland. He wouldn't happen to be close to the academy, would he?
I don't know where he is at the moment. He's that sort of reporter.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Suppose that's better than nothing.
Bolo can roll history.
Yay, I can fail in the one thing that I'm supposed to be good at. Yeah.
The suspense. It's killing me. Ah!
I'll take it. It's better than it's been all night.
Like, there's a tickle there. Like, you've heard the name before, but you can't place where and when.
Yeah. Still, thank you for your time, sir.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. I apologize for inconveniencing you.
So, is there other investigation people want to do in Here and Gone right now?
Not really. Turstad's not really the investigating type.
No, me either.
So I will leave you guys with your day to eat all the strange food, buy what you think you may need to find. There is literally everything in Here and Gone for sale or trade. If you can think of it, you can probably find it. However, at the end of 24 hours, you travel to the docks, presumably as a group, looking for a ship. And another one of these Jaegerkin monstrosities approaches you. And by this point, you've seen enough of them to kind of know how they work. They give rank basically entirely based on how large and or ostentatious their headgear is.
Oh, dear God.
And the guy approaching you is wearing not the biggest, and not the most ostentatious, but certainly the strangest hat you have seen yet. He is wearing a, like, Russian-style Olshanka with a pair of wooden barrels strapped to the sides of it. And he is dressed in, like, half-plate armor that's chased with, like, burgundy and gold. And he's this kind of bluish-purple furry color. And he walks up and he's carrying this big spear in one hand. So, you guys sailing with me to mainland?
Would appear so.
Good. You can call me Grekbert Longschnout. I captain of the Widow's Righteous Fist.
And yeah, that's getting another look, because what the hell?
And painted on the front of the boat, which is not the biggest boat you've seen, and in fact, if anything, it kind of looks like a piece of shit. Painted on the front of it, much better than anything else has been done on the boat, is a rather portly woman slapping the bejesus out of someone.
This is the greatest.
So then, Wheeze goes.
Does the barrel hat have like a straw or anything, or
There
is
is
it just
indeed,
barrels?
like a hose hanging loosely by his, by his right ear.
Do you drink from your hat?
And he looks at you and just goes, "Ja, it's great."
Can we go?
I have something to offer the Tiger Tribe when I return.
Do I have to strap in?
As he's like climbing up the little staircase on the boat, I never do.
Ah!
Alright. I step aboard.
I suppose I will step aboard.
So you get on, and like he shouts some commands. There's a handful of crew bustling around the deck. And as the ship, a term I got from Bolo that I didn't know was accurate, warps away. Honey, the largest hand you've ever seen, lands on your shoulder. And this hulking, ape-like, "We're in for a long trip, little one."
It's the same fucking
Oh
guy,
yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
Brosophus. And that is where we will leave your session.
As I renew my statement that I will bite the shit out of him if provoked.
I think the lizard and I can take him.
Who knows?
This sounds like I might actually have to use my intimidate score for once.
Oh my god!
So
The
like,
greatest.
as we're pulling away, can I see the absolute just